This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today is Tuesday, or at least it is when this video is going out, and you know what happens on a Tuesday. We do some sort of top 5 rundown, and yeah, the topic under discussion today is basically guitars that I'm curious about. Nice guitars that I would like to get my hands on. Now, I've done videos in the past where I've talked about, you know, my bucket list guitars I lusted after, guitars I drooled over, my lottery win guitar, all that sort of stuff. You know, I've done a bunch of videos on that. But that's not what this is about today. These are just guitars that, try as I might, I can't seem to find a bad review of them anywhere. So, you know, it gets me curious, basically. Are these instruments, you know, worthy of the hype and the praise that is kind of heaped upon them? And, yeah, I just want to get my hands on them and check them out for myself. So, these are the 5 guitars I'm really curious about, starting with
Gibson, Kirk Hammett, Greenie.
Yes, indeed. The Kirk Hammett Gibson Greenie guitar, basically the replica or the homage to the famous Peter Green / Gary Moore / Kirk Hammett Gibson Les Paul. I think we all were gobsmacked when we saw that limited edition run of guitars that were faithful replicas of the instrument itself, that, you know, fetched $50,000 each and immediately sold out. You know, it's, and they say there's no money in the world. Indeed. You know, and then there was the slightly more affordable, in inverted commas, version that was you know, $20,000, and now we're down to this one, the $3,000 one, which I actually prefer the look of because it doesn't have any of that kind of phony aging, relicking kind of stuff going on that I always think is just a little, well, more than a little, contrived and fake, to be honest with you. I just don't like that sort of whole relic thing. That's a debate for another day, I suspect. But yes, I just think this looks absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Huge fan of Peter Green, and an even bigger fan of Gary Moore. Kirk Hammett, well, you know, he's good at what he does. It's just that, you know, the whole kind of Metallica thing isn't really, you know, it's let's say it's towards the fringes of my musical tastes, my personal taste. But, you know, it's good that original instrument, though, isn't it? Isn't sort of sat in a glass case or a bank vault somewhere. Kirk still takes it out and, you know, gigs with it, basically, and uses it for certain parts of the Metallica set. So I'll applaud him for that. But yeah, getting back to this guitar, I really covet this, and well, not to own it, although I suspect I would, but it's just a guitar that I'm really curious about, having seen so many kind of videos of Gary playing the original one, and, you know, watching YouTube videos of Peter Green with that guitar before him. You know, it would just be a nice guitar to get my hands on and check out, and you know, see if it is everything I kind of think and hope it probably is. So yes, the Kirk Hammett Gibson Greenie Les Paul. Love to get my hands on one of those. Next,
Music Man, Axis Super Sport.
Indeed, the Music Man Axis Super Sport. This, for people with, you know, a long enough memory, started life as the Music Man Eddie Van Halen signature model, and I just wasn't interested in it back then because never been the world's biggest Van Halen aficionado, to be honest. But then when Eddie jumped ship, and I think, did he go to Peavey after he left Music Man, they rebranded it as the Axis model, and they got rid of, on this particular variant, the Super Sport, they got rid of the Floyd Rose, which, you know, I'm not a big fan of those, and, you know, gave it, I think this one has like the 5-way switch, doesn't it, with the 2 humbuckers, so you get a little bit more flexibility. And the thing is, I've just never, ever read or heard a bad thing said about Music Man guitars, the USA ones at least. I've heard mixed views on the Sterling ones, and like, is it the tier below the Sterling ones, the sub ones. I've heard mixed reviews of those, but the USA ones are sort of universally kind of lauded and have massive amounts of praise heaped upon them. I used to know a guy who was in quite a big band in this part of the world called Black Rose. Chris, he was called, and he was an absolute devotee of his Music Man guitars. Used to love them, and you got a great sound out of them. But people talk about the supremely comfortable necks and the gorgeous tones and everything. And again, it's just a guitar that I've never ever heard a bad review of. And I do like the look of it. It's slightly reminiscent of a guitar you see on this channel quite a bit. So I think it's a gorgeous looking guitar. Everybody says how fantastic they are, and it's piqued my curiosity. So I'd love to get my hands on a Music Man Axis Super Sport. Next,
Eastman SB59.
Again, a brand of guitars a brand of guitars that you can you have a really hard time finding a bad review of. I'm sure you all watch Colin at the Guitarista's channel. He describes them as being like guitarist catnip. I think he's got one or two of them, and he can't stop singing their praises. And he goes out and buys all the guitars that he reviews on his channel. He's not sponsored by anybody, so he's got no axe to grind or kind of sponsors to please when it comes to kind of singing the praises of this guitar or that guitar. He just loves them. And, the overall sort of vibe that I get from people who have played these and who own these are basically, it's essentially Gibson custom shop quality and attention to detail and, everything for less than the price of a Gibson USA, So, I mean, this particular guitar that you can see on screen here, this one is one I kind of lifted from a certain shop's website. Just right-click, save image as, because I needed a picture of one for this video. And, this particular guitar, if memory serves me right, was available for, I think, £1,600, which is, significantly less than the price of a Les Paul Standard, Gibson USA Les Paul Standard. But everyone says, they are, kind of Gibson custom shop quality. And, again, guitarist quote, kind of guitarist catnip. I'm really, really curious about these guitars, and I would love to get my hands on one. I have got a bit of a plan to make that happen. I'm just going to have to see if the things that I'm kind of selling fetch the prices that I'm hoping that they will. But yeah, don't be surprised if you see one of these on the channel at some point in the not too distant future, because I am very curious about the Eastman SB59. Next,
Crimson Guitars Descendant.
Now, yes, I suspect this is one that would kind of join the bucket list of guitars, the Crimson Guitars Descendant. I think you have to get these custom made now. I don't think Ben Crow at Crimson Custom Guitars does these as a regular production model. But if anybody's got one of these and they're willing to lend it to me to do a video with, then I would be incredibly grateful. I'm sure you all know Ben's channel, Crimson Guitars, does some great content, and just the level of craftsmanship that you see, not only in his guitars but in the building of his guitars when he's when he's doing these kind of builds that he does on camera, and what was that guitar he did? The Complication, wasn't it? You know, where he builds ridiculous, supremely ridiculous, beautifully ridiculous instruments that he just likes to do to challenge himself. And you know, his level of craftsmanship and his artisan skills are without equal, I would say. And I would love to get my hands on an instrument that has had his input and his hands, you know, kind of crafting it into its final form. The other thing about you know, the other videos that I like that he does on his channel are the ones where he, you know, the luthier teardowns, where he kind of takes the guitar to bits and kind of like a Les Paul or a PRS or a Stratocaster or whatever, you know, a kind of big name guitar, and casts his professional eye over it and spots things that possibly you or I wouldn't, you know. So, as I say, really, really good-looking guitar. This, I think, once again, it bears something of a resemblance to my signature guitar, Blondie, that you just saw a moment ago. But yeah, really curious about Crimson guitars in general, and this model in particular. So I'd love to get my hands on one of these. Next,
Patrick Eggle, Berlin Pro.
Yes, the Patrick Eggle Berlin Pro. Now, I've played a couple of these. Going back to the early 2000s. I think it was maybe 2003 or 4, sometime around about then. One of my students had an online guitar retail business, and he was, for a brief period, he was the a dealership for Patrick Eggle guitars. And there was a little guitar show at Middlesbrough Town Hall, and he asked me to go and demo these guitars, to basically stand on the stall at the guitar show and and play these guitars. And I did, and I don't think it was the Berlin Pro I played there. I think it was the Los Angeles one. Beautiful guitar, oozed quality from every pore. You know, it was just such a great looking guitar. As you can probably tell by the shape of this, it is a little bit of a nod to PRS, and I think it was maybe at NAMM or something like that. Paul had to have a quiet word with Patrick Eggle Guitars to say, yeah, just dial back the PRS-ness of it a little bit, if you don't mind, or you'll be hearing from my lawyer. They were kind of the British PRS, and the early ones up to about 1994, when Patrick Eggle was still involved in the company, are the ones that are sought after. And back in about 2015, a mate of mine had a pub, and the guy who lived next door to the pub was a guitar player, and he owned a Berlin Pro, and I got to play it a couple of times, just, you know, because we got on chatting about guitars and stuff, and, you know, I played it a couple of times. Sadly, I couldn't borrow it to do YouTube videos on, because back in 2015 I wasn't really active on YouTube very much, but you know, if anybody out there has got one and they're willing to kind of lend it to me to do a video with, then I would be, again, massively grateful. My memory of this guitar is, you know, of just, as I say, overwhelming quality, attention to detail, everything just as it should be and just right. And you know, I'd love to kind of relive that experience and bring you a review of it. So there you go, folks. Those are my 5 guitars which have sort of piqued my curiosity and kind of got the old antennae twitching and thinking, yeah, I'd love to try those out. Let me know if you own or have tried, or, you know, kind of have experience of any of the guitars on this list, or if there's any suggestions that you could make for guitars that you think I should have possibly put on this list, because, you know, I do these videos in something of, well, to a deadline, and, you know, when you're up against a deadline, then, you know, you can sometimes forget things that are obvious and what have you. It happens. But, you know, if you have any suggestions for guitars that you'd like to see me get my hands on and review on the channel, other than these 5, then, as I say, get in touch. Just leave a comment down below. And that is pretty much it for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed the video and found it entertaining and informative in some small way. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. Why not drop me a like while you're at it? Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. UK time. We drink beer and talk about music and guitars and a whole host of other things, whatever crops up, basically. Great way to kick off the weekend. I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.